Hello and welcome to Antigua and Barbuda Intellectual Property and Commerce Office's video series entitled Conversations on Intellectual Property. The Intellectual Property and Commerce Office is more commonly known by the acronym ABIPCO or the Intellectual Property and Commerce Office. It's located on St. John Street in St. John City on the gem of the Caribbean. My name is Kyle Kentish, and I am the Deputy Registrar at the Intellectual Property and Commerce Registry. With us today for this conversation is Mr. Jamie Saunders, Creator, Gender Advocate, and Director of Gender Affairs at the Directorate of Gender Affairs here in Antigua. Welcome, Mr. Saunders.
Thank you, Mr. Kentish. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. And yourself?
I'm good, thanks.
Good. Mr. Saunders, for this conversation, we would like to discuss intellectual property and sustainable development goals and how they can help us to create a common future. Please introduce yourself and tell us about your background.
My name is Jamie Saunders. I'm currently the Executive Director of the Directorate of Gender Affairs in Antigua and Barbuda, and the organization has a mandate of promoting gender equality, women's empowerment, as well as looking at issues around men and masculinity. And additionally, we coordinate the national response towards gender-based violence through the Support and Referral Center. And we primarily mainstream gender into the public and private sector through programs, policy, and legislation that seek to fill the institutional and policy gaps that we have. Outside of my role within the public sector, I've also been involved in social development in terms of non-profit programming. So I am the co-founder of Initiate Spark, which is an organization I founded with some friends in 2019 that looks at providing a platform for issues and causes that are typically overlooked. So we've done things like awareness campaigns during COVID-19 on mental health and COVID-19. We would have made financial contributions to the Disability Association, to the pediatric unit at Mount St. John, to the Victory Center School, Boys Training School, etc. And I'm also the co-founder of the Few Good Men Mentorship Program, which I founded with my close friend Arthur Thomas Jr. And we did that directly in response to the precipitous rise that we noted in terms of youth violence in Antigua and Barbuda. And so we've been able to engage senators, persons from the defense force, to engage with young men from lower socioeconomic backgrounds to receive mentorship, guidance, and support. So in a nutshell, that's my professional background.
Okay, good. And if you may, how have you gotten into those two areas of work? Can you give us a bit of information in relation to that?
So in university, I would have studied public sector management along with sociology and psychology. So I did always that I wanted to contribute to national development within our government system, within our public sector, as I see it as a strong avenue and entry point to be able to affect change. And my love for sociology and psychology encompassed a lot of gender and social themes. So I pursued employment within social transformation and was able to get an opportunity at Gender Affairs. And that would have been since 2018, and since then I've been able to advance within the field and within the area to be where I am today. And in terms of the non-profit work, my friends and I always had interest in giving back, in volunteering, and giving of our time to be able to make a difference. And so we figured that why not start our own entities, our own movement that could catalyze the change that we want to see.
Yes, I'm very grateful for that. This year, on the 26th of April, we observe World Intellectual Property Day. And that day is going to give us an opportunity to explore how intellectual property encourages and can amplify the innovative and creative solutions that are so crucial to building our common future. Has intellectual property benefited the work that you do?
Yes, intellectual property has benefited the work that I've done. In the first instance, it's critical in terms of just the initial stages, in terms of the non-profit programming work I'm in, when we look at incorporation of our entities to ensure that we are actually legally registered and recognized formally in that manner. That in and of itself is critical in terms of us being able to access financing for the initiatives that we do from development partners, corporate partners, and even the infancy of that in terms of accessing financing. You have to have that in order to open up a bank account.
Yeah.
And so it's very critical even just from a foundational perspective. And when I look at it from the standpoint of the public sector organizations, everything from our logos to our programmatic ideas and concepts, intellectual property has implications and all of those things, ensuring that the work that we do is not reproduced, it's not misrepresented, it's not done for profit in instances where it's supposed to be for the benefit of marginalized groups. All of these things are things that on the surface may seem simple, but have a lot of ramifications if they're not done and protected within the realm of intellectual property and all that's encompassed within.
Yes, of course, of course. I'm very happy that you pointed that out. You know, the United Nations has identified 17 Sustainable Development Goals. In short, they are no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth, industry, innovation and infrastructure, reduced inequalities, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production, climate action, life below water, peace, justice, and strong institutions, and partnerships for the goals. What does sustainable development mean to you?
Yeah, sustainable development for me is very important, particularly coming from a small island developing state in which we're very susceptible to exogenous shocks, whether it's geopolitical issues, war, financial, economic instability globally. All of these things have a plethora of effects and impacts on our country. And we also come from an island in which natural resources can be lacking and diversification can be a challenge. And so for me, sustainable development is finding a way for us to gradually but consistently ensure that we are developing in a way that is inclusive, in a way that will last for future generations to benefit, and in a way that takes into consideration the unique needs of various people, and ensuring that we are investing resources, time and energy in sectors, in programs, in institutional areas that will be to the benefit of our society for generations to come.
How do you believe intellectual property can support the achievement of sustainable development goals?
Yeah, so I think intellectual property can support the achievement of sustainable development goals by protecting the rights that people have in terms of their inventions and their creations. And that's critical because some of these inventions and creations will be what drives and catalyzes the type of sustainable development we want to see. So intellectual property provides that indispensable framework.
Right. So if our common future is a shared road ahead, then how do you envision your field of work helping to build that road?
Yeah, so I believe gender and social development are very cross-cutting themes. I think it will help in terms of the identification of groups that tend to be marginalized and ensuring that everything we are doing in terms of development is done in a social and gender sensitive and responsive way. So it will allow us to have a stronger basis of analysis of what is needed in order to provide what people need to be an active participant within national development. So I think gender provides that lens for inclusion and empowerment.
Indeed it does, indeed it does. So along that line and looking toward the future, we would think of young people. And so what advice would you give to anyone, young people in particular maybe, trying to effect change?
Yeah, well, the advice I would give to young people trying to affect change is to not be scared to speak up, in whatever capacity that may look like. It may be utilizing your social media platforms, it may be casually among your peers. It's important to as a young person, ensure that your voice is being heard, you're participating in national discourse at whatever level is applicable and accessible to you, and ensuring that you are also keeping abreast of the various issues. You're sensitized and educating yourself so you can articulate confidently for the issues that are important to you and on behalf of those who don't have the capacity or ability to do that.
Indeed, indeed. And so, finally, how can we learn more about what you're doing?
Yeah, so you can learn what I'm doing in terms of within the public sector space by going on our website. And in terms of the work that I'm doing personally within my NGOs, you could follow me, access my work on LinkedIn by just typing in my name, Jamie Saunders.
Okay.
And you could also follow me on Facebook and Instagram, similarly just typing in my name, Jamie Saunders, and you will see the work that I'm engaged in currently.
Well, thank you so very much, Mr. Saunders. It's been lovely having this conversation with you.
Thanks for having me.
You're most welcome.